All right, so now we're moving into step 4 of the sustainability strategy process, which is where things start becoming operational. Up until now, we've done a lot of strategic thinking. We defined the company's sustainability ambition. We looked at external drivers like regulations and frameworks. We identified the material topics, which we also called key performance areas, or KPAs. But identifying priorities is not enough. A strategy only becomes real when it is translated into actions, targets, and measurable indicators. And that's exactly what this Excel tool helps you do. This template essentially takes you from material topics to strategic actions to measurable KPIs. Or in simpler terms, what matters to what we do about it to how we measure progress. In consulting projects, this step is often called building the KPI architecture or the strategic roadmap. And today I'll walk you through exactly how this template works. Now we move into step 4 of the sustainability strategy process, which is where the strategy starts becoming operational. Up until now, we have done the strategic groundwork. We defined the organization's sustainability ambition. We analyzed external drivers such as regulations, market expectations, and international frameworks, and we identified the material sustainability topics that matter most to the business. Those topics are what we refer to as key performance areas, or KPAs. But identifying priorities alone does not create change. A sustainability strategy only becomes real when those priorities are translated into actions and measurable performance indicators. That is exactly what this Excel template is designed to do. It helps us move from material topics to implementation and measurement. In other words, it connects what matters to what we do and how we track progress. In consulting projects, this step is usually called building the KPI architecture or designing the strategic roadmap. The purpose is to turn sustainability priorities into a structured system of commitments, initiatives, and measurable indicators that allow the organization to track whether it is actually moving in the right direction. Before filling in the sheet, it is important to understand the logic behind it. The structure follows a simple strategic flow where every sustainability topic passes through 3 layers. First, the commitment, which defines the direction the organization wants to take. Second, the implementation measures, which describe the concrete initiatives that will be executed. Third, the KPIs, which allow the organization to measure progress over time. Many companies jump directly to metrics without clearly defining commitments or actions, but good sustainability strategy always follows this sequence. Commitment first, action second, measurement third. When you look at the Excel sheet, each row represents one sustainability topic translated into execution. We begin with the material topic, which is the key performance area identified during the materiality assessment. Typical environmental topics might include climate change, energy management, water use, waste management, or biodiversity. Social topics might include employee well-being, diversity and inclusion, occupational health and safety, or community engagement. Governance topics might include ethics, anti-corruption, data privacy, or responsible supply chains. The first step is to group the strategy around these topics so that each material issue becomes a strategic pillar with its own set of commitments, actions, and indicators. For example, if the material topic is climate change, that becomes the pillar we are working under, and everything that follows supports that objective. The next step is defining the commitment. This is where the organization states its strategic intention for that topic. A commitment is not yet a KPI, and it is not a detailed action plan. It is the direction the company publicly or internally commits to. Under climate change, a commitment might be reducing greenhouse gas emissions across operations, improving energy efficiency across facilities, or achieving net zero emissions by a certain year. These commitments usually align with external frameworks. The commitment answers the question of what the company intends to achieve in that sustainability area. Once the commitment is clear, we move into the implementation layer, which is where the strategy becomes operational. Under the column for measures and implementation actions, we describe the concrete initiatives that will make the commitment happen. This is one of the most important sections because sustainability strategies often fail when they remain at the level of ambition without clear implementation. If the commitment is reducing greenhouse gas emissions, the implementation actions might include conducting a full carbon footprint assessment, transitioning electricity procurement toward renewable energy, improving energy efficiency in buildings, electrifying company vehicle fleets, or engaging suppliers to address Scope 3 emissions. Each of these actions represents a program or initiative that the organization can actually execute. In practice, there will usually be multiple initiatives supporting the same commitment. This is also the stage where companies define which departments are responsible for implementation, because sustainability initiatives typically involve several parts of the organization, including operations, procurement, finance, human resources, and supply chain teams. Once the actions are defined, we move to the final layer, which is performance measurement through KPIs. Each action should be linked to at least one measurable indicator that allows the organization to track whether the initiative is producing results. For example, if the action is improving building energy efficiency, the KPI could be total energy consumption, energy intensity per square meter, or percentage of renewable electricity used. If the action focuses on emissions reduction, the KPIs might include Scope 1 emissions, Scope 2 emissions, Scope 3 emissions, or carbon intensity per unit of production. Good sustainability KPIs share three characteristics. They are quantifiable, so they can be expressed numerically. They are comparable over time, so progress can be tracked year after year. And they align with recognized reporting standards such as GRI, CSRD, or SASB, so that the company can disclose them externally to regulators, investors, and stakeholders. The KPI column therefore answers a very simple but critical question, which is, how do we know whether we are improving? The strength of this structure is that it creates strategic clarity. Many organizations fall into one of two traps. The first trap is vague commitments, where companies express ambitions but do not define the actions required to achieve them. The second trap is measuring dozens of indicators that are disconnected from strategy. This template avoids both issues by creating a clear chain between the sustainability topic, the commitment, the implementation actions, and the KPIs that track progress. Each indicator exists because it supports an action, and each action exists because it supports a strategic objective. This is exactly how sustainability strategies are structured in large consulting projects, because it allows leadership to clearly understand what the company wants to achieve and what actions are being taken, and how success will be measured. Once the Excel template is completed, it effectively becomes the company's sustainability roadmap. From this roadmap, organizations can build sustainability dashboards, ESG reports, and internal performance tracking systems. It also allows management to prioritize investments, allocate resources, and assign accountability across departments. Sustainability therefore moves from being an abstract concept to a structured operational system embedded in everyday business decisions. To summarize the process, we begin with the material topics that define what matters most for the organization. We translate those topics into strategic commitments. We define the implementation actions required to achieve those commitments, and we attach KPIs that allow progress to be measured and reported over time. This is the moment where sustainability transitions from strategy to execution, and where organizations begin to manage sustainability in the same structured way they manage financial or operational performance.